Buenas tardes, les damos la más cordial bienvenida a este evento organizado por Coparmex Ciudad de México, Oportunidades de Negocio con Malasia. Quisiera primero dar la bienvenida a nuestro presidente, licenciado Armando Zúñiga Salinas, presidente de Coparmex Ciudad de México, y darle nuestro más grande agradecimiento y también la bienvenida.
Adelante, Robert. Está silenciado, ahí está.
Perdón, disculpe, tuve un problema con mi computadora. Al excelentísimo señor Muzaffar Shan Mustafa, bienvenido. Y para respetar el horario y el orden del día, le quiero dar la palabra a nuestro presidente, licenciado Armando Zúñigas. Adelante, presidente.
Muchas gracias, Robert. Muy buenas tardes. Espero que se encuentren muy bien. Les doy la más cordial bienvenida a todas y a todos los que hoy nos acompañan. Y bueno, agradezco la presencia en esta reunión que tiene como principal objetivo crear oportunidades de intercambio comercial a nivel internacional para los empresarios de la Ciudad de México. Y bueno, agradezco a los socios del centro empresarial que atienden al llamado a estas reuniones y que han aprovechado además los acercamientos que hemos tenido con otros países. Pero agradezco especialmente hoy al excelentísimo señor Muzaffar Shan Mustafa, embajador de Malasia en México, quien nos brindará un panorama general de las múltiples oportunidades comerciales y de negocios que puede haber entre ambos países. Malasia es un país con múltiples oportunidades para invertir, pues al igual que México tiene una economía emergente que año con año busca fortalecerse. Cuenta con una economía multisectorial, cada vez más se fortalece su mercado interno, por lo que estoy seguro que podremos concretar buenas relaciones comerciales entre empresarios de Malasia y México. A los empresarios de la Ciudad de México nos interesa mucho fortalecer la relación económica con Malasia y ampliar nuestros horizontes comerciales. La pandemia nos afectó a ambas naciones, hablando comercialmente, pero tenemos que verla como una oportunidad para aumentar las exportaciones de nuestros productos y servicios. Nuevamente agradezco al excelentísimo embajador señor Muzaffar Shan Mustafa por su tiempo, pero sobre todo por su interés de estrechar los lazos entre Malasia y los empresarios de la Ciudad de México. Espero que esta sea la primera de varias reuniones, que a través de su conducto podamos hacer un networking, que podamos hacer una misión comercial entre los empresarios que estén interesados de ambos países. Muchísimas gracias y sean bienvenidos. Robert, creo que está silenciado, pero...
Sí, continuamos con las palabras del señor embajador Muzaffar Shan Mustafa. Adelante, por favor.
Thank you very much. First of all, I would like to extend our sincere appreciation and gratitude to Licenciado Armando Zuniga, President of Coparmex, for this opportunity. Before I continue, please excuse me that I'm going to make my presentation in English. I think it's going to be better that way. If I speak in Spanish, I don't think anyone would understand. I hope everyone can follow my presentation today. as the president of Copamex has mentioned, that Malaysia and Mexico, we have a very close and cordial relation, and this is a very important relation that between our countries. The main thrust of our relation anyway is on trade and business. So I would continue my presentation. I will share my presentation for all to see. And then it's okay like this. This one. Okay, I hope everyone is on the same presentation now. Okay, my presentation would covers the following aspect. First, a general overview of Malaysia, and second would be on our bilateral relation between Malaysia and Mexico, and I would also touch briefly on trade performance of Malaysia and Mexico, and after that on the opportunities of doing business between our two countries, and after that I'm going to touch also on the business and market expansion opportunities for Mexican companies in Malaysia, and to be followed by summary, and also I would share the contact numbers of the MC and also the relevant organization. So this is a snippet of where Malaysia is located. We are at the heart of the Southeast Asia region. We are bordering Thailand, Singapore, Indonesia, Philippines, and Vietnam. As you can see in the slide, in terms of our location, we are just like 2 hours away from other countries, for example, like Philippines, Indonesia. And if we go beyond 4 hours, we are Malaysia, we can reach China and some parts of South Asia. And beyond 4 hours flight, you can reach India from Malaysia. But of course, talking about our geographical location, Malaysia and Mexico is physically far apart. I think it's going to be like 20 hours of flight from Mexico to Malaysia and vice versa. Malaysia is also located in the Southeast Asia, which is the fastest growing economic region in the world, with GDP growth of 5.3% over the last 20 years. And the region is also estimated to grow by 4.9% over the next 5 years. And overall, Asia is not only South Asia, but Asia in general, we contribute about 48% of the global GDP. This is how important Asia is, and this is the heart of the growth, economic growth of the world. And by 2030, we are expected to contribute to 60% of the global growth. This is the projection of growth of the region by another less than 10 years. Just to give a brief introduction on Malaysia and a little bit of comparison with Mexico, just to give all the audience a general idea and the situation of the economic situation in Malaysia. In terms of land area, we are very much smaller. We are just like probably 1/5 of the size of Mexico. We are just 330,000 of square kilometer. The population, we are a population of 32 million, compared to 130 million in Mexico. Our GDP growth, GDP is we are the 40th in terms of the GDP growth in terms of the global economy of 336,000 million US dollars. Of course, Mexico is very much a bigger GDP with more than 1 trillion US dollars per year. GDP income, we are not much far between Malaysia and Mexico. And of course, GDP growth in 2020 was not very good for Malaysia. It was minus 4.6 because of the pandemic and the health issues that the world is facing even currently. And the unemployment rate in Malaysia in 2020 was 4.8%, not far also from much different from Mexico. A quick fact on our trade performance in 2020, despite the situation, we recorded a total of 423.66 billion of total trade, even though it was contracted by 3.6% because of the demand because of the unfavorable situation because of the COVID. The export has declined by 1.4% to the amount of 233.93 billion, while export also declined by 6.3% to USD 189.73 billion. Malaysia still registered trade surplus last year to the amount of 44.2 billion. But from the statistic, you can show clearly that Malaysia is very much a trading nation. We export, we depend on export. At the same time, we also export quite similar amount of products. It's quite a balance between export and import for Malaysia. So this is to show that we are very much a trading nation, that we depend on other global partners for our economic growth. The slide shows that in terms of the key sectors of our export and import, again you can see quite a balance between our import and also export. In terms of the largest export of Malaysia consists of manufacturing goods, followed by mining and agriculture. And similarly for imports, manufacturing goods is the biggest in terms of the total imports, and followed by mining and also agriculture. In terms of the product, you can see at the bottom, in terms of the export, we export a lot of electronic and electrical products, which is about close to 40% of our export, followed by petroleum products, chemical, palm oil, and agriculture, as well as liquid gas. For imports, we import about 30% of electronic and electrical product, chemical, petroleum product, machinery, and metals. This is, as I mentioned, this is quite a balance in terms of the items of our export and imports. I would like Malaysia is the largest exporter when it comes to specific items as we have listed in the slide. There are 39 products that Malaysia is the largest exporter. For example, like under the electrical and electronic products, we are the largest exporter of parts of electronics and electronic accumulators. On machinery, equipment and parts, machinery for oil extraction, machine for material removal, also incubators and brooders, chemical products, calcium carbonate, and perhaps I just would like to highlight here on palm oil. We are the second largest producer of palm oil. We are the largest producer of glycerol, soap, industrial oil, acid, and palmitic acid and stearic acid. Palm oil is one of the most versatile edible oil in the world. Currently, 50% of the global population use palm oil as their edible oil. So this is probably one area that probably we can try to work with Mexico in trying to promote our palm oil export to Mexico. And other products of food, wood products, textile, medical devices, optical and scientific equipment, and metals. These are some of the products that we are the largest exporter, and we are the leading producer of this product. Okay, just a little bit on our bilateral relation. We have established our diplomatic relations since more than close to 47 years. It was on 27 March 1974. We had a number of bilateral agreements between Malaysia and Mexico. And for Mexicans to travel to Malaysia, it's a visa-free for 30 days to travel to Malaysia, with the condition that a validity of the passport should be more than 6 months. And there's a few options that you can travel to Malaysia. It's either through the Pacific or maybe through Europe. On trade performance between Malaysia and Mexico, you can see the figures is on the upward trajectory from 2015 up to 2020. Even if you go far back to 2010, it's also registered an increase, annual increase. So there's an increase of trade and business relation between Malaysia and Mexico. For example, like in 2020, the total trade between Malaysia and Mexico amounted to 10.15 billion US dollars based on the statistic by the Secretary of Economy of Mexico. But of course, the trade balance is very much in Malaysia's favor, that we exported around 9.95 billion, while our export is still very low. This is where probably we can try to promote greater export from Mexico to Malaysia. In terms of the status of our bilateral trade, Mexico is our third largest trading partner in Americas after America and Brazil. And in terms of export destination, Mexico is our second largest export destination in Americas after the US. And for Malaysia, for the Americas, Mexico is our sixth largest import source. Oh, sorry, Malaysia is the sixth Mexico's largest import source. So we are exporting to Mexico. Can see in terms of the trade performance, in comparison to other Southeast Asian nations or countries in Southeast Asia, for example, like Vietnam, Thailand, Philippines, Singapore, Indonesia, Cambodia, Laos, Myanmar, and Brunei, we are the largest trading partner for Mexico. The second largest trading partner for Mexico among the Southeast Asian countries are Vietnam, followed by Thailand, Philippines, and Singapore. But I must say that the total trade, the amount of the total trade that registered by Ministry of Economy of Mexico is based on the country of origin, whereas the direct trade between Malaysia and Mexico, as what we registered, is much lower. That was in 2020 about 2.5 billion US dollars. So we believe there are many products of Malaysia's origin. They come to Mexico through probably to the US, from the US, or maybe it was exported to Mexico via Singapore. So there's a huge discrepancies in terms of the number of the total trade between our figures and also the Ministry of Economy of Mexico based on the product country of origin. On our bilateral trade, you can see on the screen in terms of the product classification. For example, like in terms of import and export, Malaysia also import quite a number of products, E&E product, electrical and electronic product from Mexico. This is how to show that we are complementary each other in terms of our manufacturing sector, that we need each other in terms of the E&E products. In terms of Malaysia's import, Mexico's import from Malaysia, such as manufacturers of metal, chemicals and chemical products, machinery, equipment and parts, and palm oil-based manufactured products. While Mexico export or Malaysia import from Mexico consists of machinery, equipment and parts, optical and scientific equipment, transport equipment, chemicals and chemical products. So when we talk about the potential collaboration of doing business, as I've showed in the slide previously, most of our trade exchanges are under the manufacturing goods. So we believe there's a lot of potential that we should try to promote in terms of, for example, like under the food industry, including processed food and also halal products. For example, like my recent trip to Veracruz, that I understand that Veracruz is one of the largest producer of beef for Mexico. So we believe there's a lot of potential that we can try to work with Mexican companies on export of beef to Malaysia. For example, like of course Malaysia as a Muslim nation, there's a requirement for halal beef if it is to be imported into Malaysia. So this is where probably we can try to work with Mexican authorities and also companies in trying to come up with the halal certification. And also probably we can also try to look into the greater exchanges in terms of our trade on agriculture products, because Mexico is also one of the main producer of different agriculture products, and for Malaysia we are the second largest of palm oil. Probably in terms of the use of palm oil in Mexico is still quite low, and probably the awareness in terms of the benefit and the advantages of palm oil in Mexico is still very low, because we understand there are a lot of negative campaign against palm oil in terms of the sustainability, environmental sustainability, and also the health reason. So actually we have conducted our own independent studies that shows that palm oil is also a very healthy edible oil as compared to other oils. And to fulfill the requirements of the global population, palm oil is the only edible oil that can fulfill the requirement of the global population, because 1 hectare of palm oil plantation can produce around 8 metric ton of oil, compared to other oils, which is 1 hectare of other vegetable oil can only produce less than 0.5 metric ton. So this is a very important fact that we need to make people aware that there's no other substitute to palm oil at the moment. And other than palm oil, probably we can also try to promote exchanges in terms of consumer goods, especially the fast-moving consumer goods produced by the small and medium industries. In Malaysia, we have like more than 95% of our companies, they are small and medium companies. Similarly, I believe in Mexico, you have big percentage of small and medium companies. But currently our trade exchanges are more limited to multinational corporation in terms of fulfilling their supply and also value chain. So there's a need to promote greater collaboration between the small and medium companies between our two countries. And also we can also look into the greater collaboration in terms of pharmaceutical products. What more, under the current situation of COVID, probably we can try to have a more active collaboration in terms of pharmaceutical companies between our two countries. And not to mention also electrical and electronics. Probably this is more for the consumer goods rather than by the industrial use. And also textile, and also probably under the aviation and aerospace industry, because Mexico is also is a great in terms of the aviation and aerospace industry. This is probably one area that we can try to look into in terms of our trying to promote our business between our two countries. These are some of the companies that Malaysian and also Mexican companies that have their presence in our each country. There are not so many companies at the moment, which this is one area that we can try to promote. For example, like Malaysian company, they can take advantage of the USMCA to have their presence in Mexico, so that they can have access to more than a bigger market under USMCA. Similarly, for Mexican companies, we encourage more Mexican companies to establish their presence in Malaysia. At the moment, there are only Kidzania, Cemex, and also Mission. Mexican companies can take advantage of our very strategic location in the heart of Southeast Asia to have access to other markets in the region. For example, when we talk about, for example, like ASEAN under the Southeast Asia Free Trade Agreement, it is a market of more than 600 million population. So Malaysia is a very strategic location that Mexican companies can have their presence in Southeast Asia, and then can take advantage of the ASEAN Free Trade Agreement among the 10 Southeast Asian countries, that most of the products are zero tariff currently under the Free Trade Agreement. And some other product, this is a very specific product, for example, like processed food, cocoa, food, others, food flavoring, seafood, meat, which Mexico is also is one of the leading producer of different seafood. And also palm oil base, which I already mentioned just now. Palm oil is not only can be used for food, but it's also it's a substance that can be used for cosmetic as well as also biofuels. This is why I said palm oil is one of the most versatile vegetable oil. And probably I just like to highlight that for Malaysia, palm oil is not only important for our economy, but it's also important because under the government's program that we have successfully had a scheme in addressing poverty in Malaysia. So most of the palm oil production are produced by small producers who, under the government scheme, they have benefited in terms of uplifting their economic situation. They have a better income under the palm oil plantation scheme. This would also be another areas where potential collaboration between Malaysia and also Mexico under the life sciences. For example, like under different medical consumables, medical gloves, and also pharmaceutical product, medicament and supplements. And also under the automotive, aerospace and aviation. For example, like under automotive, OEM product, replacement market, aftermarket product, engineering, support services, research and design and development. And for aerospace, aero manufacturing, maintenance and repair and overhaul, MRO, engineering and design services, training and education. For my next presentation, as I also earlier mentioned about the invitation for more Mexican companies to have their presence in Malaysia, I would like to just touch on what are the business and market expansion opportunities for Mexican companies in Malaysia. We have a special agency that is responsible to promote investment in Malaysia, that is Malaysian Investment Development Authority, or in short MIDA. We have MIDA presence in the closer to Mexico is in the US. We have 3 offices in MIDA offices in the US, in New York, San Jose, and also in Chicago. So these are some of the major multinational companies that have presence in Malaysia. There are more than 5,000 companies that is currently have presence in Malaysia. So in terms of our investment performance, in terms of the foreign direct investment and domestic direct investment, in 2020, we managed to attract about more than 40 billion of investment in Malaysia. So this, especially the foreign direct investment, is also very important in our economic progress, where it has contributed not only in terms of capital, but it's also in terms of the transfer of technology. And in 2020, investment in manufacturing sector surged by 10.4%. Is either by domestic direct investment also or foreign direct investment. It's altogether about 22.7 billion US dollars. Some of the quality projects investment, in terms of investment, that we have attracted in 2020. For example, like Microsoft, to build and manage hyperscale data center and cloud services in Malaysia. Here's some of other companies also: Bosch, B. Brown, Western Digital. And in terms of the investors, Malaysia's top investor country, Japan is the leading investor in Malaysia with a total of 27.34 billion US dollars, followed by USA, Singapore, Germany, Netherlands, Korea, Taiwan, China, UK, and Hong Kong. These are the only the top 10. In terms of in the Americas, US is leading as the largest investor in Malaysia with 25.4 billion US dollars of investment. Mexico is number 4 with 32 million US dollars of investment. Until this data is until December 2020. So this is where I hope we can try to promote a greater investment by Mexican companies in Malaysia. As I mentioned just now, the 3 Mexican companies that have investment in Malaysia or have presence in Malaysia, Mission under the manufacturing category, and services, Cemex, and also Kidzania. And potential opportunities for Mexican companies with manufacturing and services sector in Malaysia include, for example, like automotive as a regional headquarters, aerospace probably as a representative office, and food processing as a regional office. This probably would open the doors for Mexican companies to have access to other market in the region. Malaysia is targeting quality investment, for example, like under the high value added, strong linkages, skill intensive, high income jobs, export oriented, high technology investment, capital intensive, research and design, and GNI impact and knowledge intensive investment. Under the Industrial Revolution 4.0, the key technologies that we are targeting to enhance global competitiveness, strengthen growth and productivity of manufacturing industry, create new generation job and reduce dependency on foreign laborers, and sustaining high level of foreign and domestic investment. The potential growth areas that we are looking into, they are manufacturing sector and also services sector, as what reflected under the my presentation, under all different kinds of manufacturing sectors and also services sectors. These some of the probably attraction to invest in Malaysia. First, in terms of the equity ownership, where all foreigners are allowed to hold 100% of equity ownership in manufacturing and also selected services sector, and we do not have any restriction in terms of repatriation of income, where foreign companies are free to repatriate capital, interest, and dividend and profit with no restriction. And employment of expatriates, key posts that are permanently filled by foreigners, and term posts that are filled by foreigners for a period of 1 to 5 years. And Malaysia has signed investment guarantees agreement with more than 60 countries. And Malaysia also has a very strict intellectual property protection law, which is in conformance with international standard, where we are a member of the World Intellectual Property Protection Organization and signatory of the Paris Convention and Berne Convention, which govern the intellectual property rights. And Malaysia is also signatory of the agreement on trade-related aspect of IP rights under the WTO. And we have also offers of incentives, for example, like pioneer status with income tax exemption ranging from 70% to 100% for a period of 5 to 10 years, and investment tax allowance 60% or 100% on qualifying capital expenditure incurred within 5 years, and reinvestment allowance 60% on qualifying capital expenditure incurred for 15 consecutive years, and customized package investments incentives, domestic investment strategic fund or high impact fund. There are also some other incentive, as you can see under the special incentive for industry 4.0. In terms of the human capital, every year there are graduates, 130,000 graduates of different fields produced by different universities in Malaysia, as well as international universities with branch in Malaysia. In terms of the number of talent ranking, Malaysia ranked 22nd in the world. And we can provide strong engineering supporting industry, as you can see on the screen. Different supporting industry is very much available in Malaysia. And this is also another attraction that Malaysia can be attractive investment location for Mexican companies. As recently we have signed the Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership (RCEP), which involve 10 ASEAN member countries and also 5 ASEAN FTA partner countries. It will be the largest free trade agreement in the world, covering 15 countries with 2.2 billion or nearly a third of the world population. RCEP represent 24.8 billion, or almost a third, or 28.9% of the world GDP, based on World Bank's 2018 data. Some of the elements of RCEP: elimination of or reduction of import duties, promotion, facilitation, protection and investment liberalization, and protection of intellectual property rights, facilitation of e-commerce, and economic and technical cooperation. In terms of international standing, Malaysia is the world's best countries to invest, based on CEO World Magazine 2019, which ranked Malaysia number 1 among 67 countries. And Bloomberg has ranked Malaysia as the most attractive emerging market in Asia in 2018. In terms of the World Bank Doing Business 2020 report, Malaysia ranked 2nd among the ASEAN countries. And in terms of protecting business, protecting investors, World Bank 2020 report ranked also Malaysia the 2nd among the ASEAN. In terms of global trade connectivity, DHL Global Connectedness Index 2020 ranked Malaysia 16th globally and 2nd among ASEAN. And in terms of cost doing business, Malaysia ranked 4th. Malaysia has outperformed countries such as China, Japan, Vietnam, and India, based on KPMG 2020 report. Malaysia also ranked 5th as the most attractive emerging market in the world, based on a report by Bloomberg in 2018. And in terms of ease of doing business, World Bank Doing Business report, globally, Malaysia ranked 12th. This is about a little bit about COVID. COVID is very much still exists in Malaysia. We are still struggling to contain after the 2nd and 3rd wave of COVID infection in Malaysia. But the government is planning to complete vaccination of the whole of Malaysian population by the end of this year. This is something that we are working very hard so that we can resume our normal economic activities. At the moment, for everyone's information, Malaysia is still, because of the COVID situation, our borders are still closed, except for essential traveling into Malaysia. And the government has introduced various packages to especially for Malaysian population, and also to companies, to alleviate the impact of the economic slowdown because of the COVID situation. But under the MIDA initiative, we have come up with a special program for business travelers to travel to Malaysia, but under very strict condition, that for business travelers, they can apply for special permission to travel to Malaysia. There are one-stop center that has been established to facilitate this process, which consists of different agencies in Malaysia to process this travel application. Further details can be obtained under the this website, safetravel.maida.gov.my. There are different types of business travelers under this this scheme, long-term and also short-term stay. So these in summary, these are some of the elements that you Mexican company may consider in doing business with Malaysia. For example, like diverse range of high quality product and services, good manufacturing practices, reliable suppliers, compliance and international standards, and other factors. So this is the contact details that to facilitate Mexican businesses that wishes to do business with Malaysia. Is either the embassy, or we have the also trade representative office in Mexico City, which is located in Paseo de Las Palmas. And for investment matters, prospective investors can always get in touch with the embassy or directly with MIDA, Malaysia Investment Development Authority. The closest office is in San Jose in USA. So with that, thank you very much for your attention. I hope with my presentation, all the audience for today's session will be getting some general ideas on areas that probably Mexican and Malaysian businessmen we can try to collaborate. Of course, if there is any need for further discussion, we are always open, and we are ready to receive the visit of any interested parties from Mexico to discuss in greater details of how we can try to work on enhancing the existing level of cooperation between Malaysia and also Mexico. With that, I thank you very much for your attention.
Agradecemos las palabras del señor embajador. Apremiando el tiempo, tenemos algunas preguntas. Yo creo que haremos un par de preguntas. Si nos pudieran ayudar el personal de la embajada, nos permitiremos hacerlas en español. Y si nos pueden ayudar a traducirle las preguntas al embajador, estaría perfecto. La primera de ellas es, desde su perspectiva, ¿cuáles son los retos futuros en la relación entre México y Malasia?
Thank you very much for the question. Again, please allow me to answer the question in English. I do not see any big challenges, but what I see is more opportunities for Malaysia and also for Mexico. We have our strength, each other's strength. Mexico, of course, when we talk about USMCA, Mexico can provide very good opportunities for Malaysian companies to collaborate and to have access to greater market in America. And similarly for Malaysia, we have also our strength in terms of our location, in terms of the regional location. As well as also, as I mentioned just now, in terms of the opportunities for Mexican companies to take advantage of the RCEP agreement. Of course, the physical distance probably is one of the challenges, because it also not only in terms of the traveling time, but it was also involved in terms of the cost of transportation, for example. But with the advance of the technology, I believe this can be overcome through various formats of communication. For example, instead of you being physically present in Malaysia, you can always have, for example, virtual meetings. So in summary, I do not see any real challenge for Malaysia and Mexico for us to collaborate closer. But what I see is more of opportunities and also greater areas that we can try to cooperate between our two countries.
Muchas gracias, señor embajador. Pues atendiendo al tiempo, quisiera darle la palabra a nuestro presidente Armando Zúñiga, no sin antes comentarle que tenemos algunas otras preguntas y nos permitiremos hacérselas llegar vía correo electrónico para que puedan ser atendidas. Adelante, presidente.
Okay, right, yes, sure. If there is any question or any inquiries, we are always open. Even during the pandemic, the MC and also the office of trade representative is always open. Even though probably it's not in a full strength, but we are in office most of the time. We can be contacted at any time. We would be happy to attend to any question or any inquiries from any Mexican companies or individuals.
Señor embajador, pues a nombre de los socios de Coparmex Ciudad de México, a nombre de nuestro consejo, agradecerle su tiempo, su disposición y todo lo que hoy conocimos de Malasia. Y bueno, vamos a ver que esto sea el inicio de continuar pues una relación de intercambio de negocios entre los empresarios de Malasia y de México. Ya planteamos ahí el poder a futuro hacer una misión comercial de llevar mexicanos a Malasia y traer también empresarios de Malasia a México. Pues solo me resta agradecerle, mandarle un fuerte abrazo a nombre de los empresarios de la Ciudad de México y decirle que cuenta con Coparmex, con nuestro centro empresarial. Si alguno de los empresarios de Malasia en México se quiera pues acercar a nosotros para cualquier situación que pudiera tener de trámites de gobierno, en fin, de cualquier gestión, nosotros podemos también apoyar con mucho gusto en asesorarlos. Les mando un fuerte abrazo, agradeciendo a todos nuestros socios también que nos siguen por redes sociales. Muchas gracias por acompañarnos el día de hoy. Reciban un fuerte abrazo. Muchas gracias.
Thank you very much again.
Gracias. Thank you.
Gracias.
Okay.
So you mentioned they are planning to bring a group of businessmen to Malaysia in the future. Yes. So